Splunk, which is a company that I've been following very closely for a long time, had a great relationship with former CEO Doug Merritt, as when he left, was very curious about how the company was planning to go forward. And then, of course, the results. Cisco allegedly was going to buy the company. Would have been a great deal if Cisco could have gotten it done, but it seems there was a few $1 billion separating them. Had their Q4 results, announced $3 billion in ARR, really solid results. But the big news, despite the 65% cloud ARR growth, 32% overall ARR growth, the 69% cloud growth, the 21% overall revenue growth, good, four goods, right? Was that the company did finally name a new CEO. Now, having said that, this is a bit of an interesting impasse. The company had really said, we want to bring in a big name CEO to come in and invigorate the next wave of growth. Merritt was a longtime player, very beloved by the organization, but maybe seen as not the right person to take the company from here to there, which is often an important recognition that CEOs are able to see within themselves. The company ended up bringing in Gary Steele. Gary was the CEO of a SaaS-based security software called Proofpoint. That was a company he took public and then took private. And Gary is a name that I think the market is wondering, was he the definition of what interim CEO and chairman Graham Smith had meant when they said big time? So that's going to probably be the big question mark. When they went back private, Proofpoint, it was a $12 billion deal. This was before Citrix and a few other really large ones. Deals like that happened in more recent times. So it was a big number. And then, of course, when you have a CEO that went public and then went back private, and you have a company that's been allegedly on the block for sale, you can't help but ask the question, did they bring him in to be a deal maker in terms of some sort of go private deal? So there's a lot of question marks that come around this. There also were some departures. The company's president, Teresa Carlson, who is a big hire that came in from AWS, she's out, she's left. So you're already starting to see that executive turnover, that merry-go-round, or that happens after a new CEO comes in. Now he's not starting till April, so there is still a little bit of a window of time. Okay. But during this window of time, the company is really still functioning on the growth of Doug Merritt and Tim Tully's strategy, the prior CTO, CEO, the migration to cloud, the pivot to as a service, and the numbers have been pretty good. The question is Gary the guy to take us to the next level? Not having a ton of experience with him, looking at the resume, he definitely seems like he could be the guy, but not necessarily the profile that I was expecting when the company initially came out. And I think the market's reaction to the earnings somewhat was in agreement with me, but the numbers really good. And so you got to give credit where credit is due. That pivot has been really solid. And of course, data observability at scale, huge thing. Positive moment for Splunk, but leaves some question marks. And we're going to have to come back to this in 1 or 2 quarters when we see how Gary steps into the role.
Yeah, I'm glad you explained that Gary doesn't start till April, because I was looking him on Twitter and LinkedIn. He hadn't switched it. He hadn't switched over yet. In fact,
you should do that.
Gary hasn't tweeted since August 22nd, 2018. So not very social media active, which is never a requirement for CEOs. I will say, as I look at Gary's resume here on LinkedIn, he has a lot of CEO experience, right? He's been a CEO since 1998. And I think that means a lot. So he's definitely experienced. I am with you on the, we're going to bring in a well-known name. I think Gary is really well known inside of the security market. I would say, with his experience at Proofpoint, but less so with regard to this. But wish them best of luck, and hopefully I can get to meet him when he starts.